Good morning, everyone. Ooh, now that's really loud. Welcome. It's nice to see some new faces today and some familiar, friendly faces as well. Welcome to ConverZations, the December edition. A few things that I want to mention. As you know, I always like to use this time to bring up a few things. So on your tables, we do have postcards for our holiday pops, which is this weekend. It is very family friendly this year. We're doing the Snowman movie, which is an animated film based on the book. And then the second half of the show will feature music from Frozen, Polar Express, and Home Alone, plus the sing-along. So it's going to be a really fun event. That's Sunday. Tickets are still available. You can go upstairs afterwards if you'd like, or call or visit the online box office. Oh. One other thing I just want to draw your attention to is on the table is the Music Educator of the Year. This is the second year that we will be doing this. Nominations are about to close, and we will be announcing that winner in March. So if you know of a music educator in Stark County who has done really wonderful things for someone in your family or someone you know, we would love to have those nominations. You can visit, there's information on your table, and then you can visit our website for more information. I think on the back is it actually the nomination form? I see you looking at it. Okay, good. Yeah, so you can just grab one of those and fill it out if you know somebody and leave it here with us.
Does it have to be a current educator?
It can be a retired educator. Irene, it's going like this. So I'm thinking it means it has to be current. It needs to be current, she says. Okay, so without further ado, I give you Lalene K, who is here to talk about music therapy.
Well, it was great to hear that there's some programs coming up that are going to use sing-alongs, because we're going to do a little of that today, because it's really difficult to truly understand how music can help you, how you use music already to just enhance your own life, and how music can enhance the lives of others, where it just doesn't seem like it's going to get in without actually doing some, because we have to wake up some neurons up here that you might not have used today unless you sang in the car on the way here. So we're going to sing a couple of tunes and then we'll move on. So just jump in as you're able. If you don't want to jump, you can sit and sing as well. All right. We're just going to warm up a little on a couple of well-known tunes. I don't put them on the board. I just let you sing them. All right, here's the first one. Here we go. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine, and make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. The other night, dear, as I lay sleeping, I dreamt I held you in my arms. When I awoke, dear, I was mistaken. So I held my head and I cried. Back to the beginning. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine, and you make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. All right, that's a good one. However, what you might think is exciting, well, that's my family. You can just put LKAY. Everybody in the world knows my password. Okay, it's on a billboard somewhere. That and my cell phone number, apparently. Anyway, we're gonna transfer from my favorite song, "You Are My Sunshine" as a warm-up tune, to something a little more seasonal, just to get everybody going, and then we'll jump in. La 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 la, la 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 la. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, la 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 la. 'Tis the season to be jolly, la 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 la. Don we now our gay apparel, la 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 la. Troll the ancient Yuletide carol. all three, and I don't have enough up for. Anyway, I'm Lalene Kay. I'm the director of music therapy, a place called the Cleveland Music Therapy Consortium. And actually the programs which I direct are in Berea at Baldwin Wallace University and Worcester, the College of Worcester. So we're not really even in Cleveland. But there was a time way back when in 1976 when my program was first founded. When it was founded, I was finishing up my degree at Ohio University because there was no program here in the Cleveland or Northeast Ohio area at all. When I came back, I said, now there's a program. That figures. Anyway, Athens was a cool place to be that time. So it was you know, lots of people, lots of controversy, lots of students getting arrested for various things, and it was crazy. You know. So I'm glad I was there just to say I was there. Anyway, 1976 we started with Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland State University, Oberlin College, College of Worcester, Baldwin Wallace. Since then, those other three programs have moved on. Oberlin no longer has music therapy, neither does Case, but Cleveland State University actually about 3 years ago moved in to their own program, and I helped them develop their curriculum, and they're now a freestanding music therapy program at Cleveland State University. So that leaves Baldwin Wallace and College of Worcester under my supervision, and it's a good marriage because we're both very strong liberal arts schools. We have slightly different kind of philosophies, but we're enough the same that it really does enhance the degree program, music therapy program, which is very different at each school, other than the part that comes from me, which is the music therapy kind of core course piece. We have an amazing deep and wide, another song we won't sing it, deep and wide community of music therapy in this part of the state, which really enhances our students' experiences, being able to see music therapists in action, being able to talk with them, and actually being able to complete some of their field work under these music therapists. Just to name a few before I get started, up at Cleveland, up at University Hospital, some of you might be familiar with the queen of music therapy in Ohio, probably even more so, far-reaching than that, is Dr. Lalene, who has really put music therapy on the map in Ohio and around the country, and really she's internationally renowned as a music therapist, specifically with working with people who have cancer. And she herself is a cancer survivor, and that certainly adds to her own understanding and perspective on patient needs, whether it's a child or an older adult and everything in between. So she's definitely one of the people that my students go, do you know Lalene? We'll be at a conference and they'll go, oh, Lalene, is over there. Could you get a picture of us? Deforia, we need another picture. So anyway, I feel like I need a cardboard statue of my dear friend Deforia, who graduated from my program this year. But I need a cardboard so we could just get all those selfies done. It would be so much easier. But she loves to talk to students, and she's always been extremely gracious, having even high school students come in and shadow her, and her staff as well is extremely gracious. She has built an amazing program throughout the University Hospital system, so much so now that we have programs even since University Hospital has taken over so many suburban and outlying hospitals. We were thrilled last year to see Elyria Hospital, which is now part of the UH network, to actually have their own music therapist, which is absolutely wonderful for us. And I'm going to talk a little bit later about some of the other programs in the area that make our music therapy program cool. Until then, I want to do some other things. So I'm going to change my slide here. This won't take very long. Think for a moment, what music have you listened to since you awakened this morning? I didn't hear the actual concerto, but I heard somebody say Brahms violin concerto. I heard somebody say Christmas music. That's about it. What other kinds of things did you listen to? What's that? Hope Alley. That sounds cool. Yeah, right. All those jingles. Yeah. Wow. That's fancy stuff. You know, the Bach's people you're talking about, they did not write for saxophone, which is my main instrument, so I always have to take a pass on that stuff, because, yeah. Until they wrote for saxophone, I don't remember their name. Bizet would be one. Anybody else?
Bluegrass.
Bluegrass. I went and heard a bluegrass band on Saturday night. Some good friends of mine from BW. Very cool. Well, why? Why did you listen to this stuff? Such a variety of music. Why do you choose that music? Yeah.
I was trying to decide what concert to go to.
So those are the cantatas, right? And this lady was trying to decide which concert to go to based on her listening to a couple of different Bach cantatas. That's the only one I remember of all the things you said. No, I remember Folk Alley. Why did you listen to Folk Alley?
Well, I channel surf when I'm driving, and I get about an hour's drive, so they were doing the best.
Where did you come from?
Fresco.
Wow, yeah, I get that. Anybody else want to give it up as to why they listen to what they listen to?
Peace.
For peace. That's cool. That's cool. Kind of almost like an escape. It's kind of that, you know, the old, see this group, a lot of you, some of you won't, but some of you might remember the old commercial, Calgon, Take Me Away. That's kind of like music sometimes for us, isn't it? It does offer us a wonderful distraction. And a distraction, well, it's also a really good way to focus our attention. So it distracts us from things which are helping us to focus. So we have people who will do that to relax. We have people who, I have students who listen to music when they study. I have other students that go, no way, can't do it. It distracts me. And I think a lot of it, and they say this is probably true, is the music they choose. Because if it's music that tends to excite your curiosity, or maybe it's because you've played that piece before and so you're listening for certain parts. It's different from if it's a piece that is maybe unfamiliar and your body, your brain, your neurons is not inquisitive about it. It's just something to just put in the background that's easy to listen to. A lot of times that's music doesn't have words, or for some of my students it's music that's in a foreign language. They go, and I don't listen to the words, it's just like another instrument. Well, that's cool, because for all of you who are vocalists, some people don't think that, what's your instrument? Oh, you're a vocalist. Well, the voice is another instrument, so we want to remember that as well. In any case, those are some really good reasons why you use music, and why we use music to enhance our lives, to kind of give us a little bit of a template to the day. I listen to certain music when I wake up. When I go to bed at night, it's different music. And it really has to do with what types of things I'm trying to get myself to do. In the morning, it's wake up. So right now my phone plays, "This is going to be the best day of my life." American authors. Personal story. A year ago this coming weekend, I blacked out after playing soccer. I was taken to hospital in Berea, Southwest Hospital, and about 2 weeks later, which was right after Christmas, on the 28th of December, after being observed and trying to get through Christmas relatively well, I ended up having major brain surgery, kind of an emergency thing. They put a big old 8-inch incision back here and took a mass about the size of a golf ball with little tentacles all inside different parts of my brain. And so I've kind of had to, I felt a need as I've been struggling through this year. My motor skills are just coming back to play the guitar. I'm still guessing. I don't know, my fingers don't really know, they can't really feel the strings. So I struggle a little with that. And I struggle with, I can't feel my knees. They're still there, right? Yeah. Cool, I'm so glad to know that. No knees, and I don't have an arm here at all, other than a little bit of tingling in my finger. So anyway, the best day of my life is really a song that just kind of, it spurs me on every day. Gotta do something like that. But at the end of the day, I'm more into, right now I'm into Charlie Brown Christmas. And that just like, gets me to go to sleep. It's very nice, it's very lovely, and it's soothing. I don't feel the need to get up and move, get up and dance. I don't need to do things with my hands. Plus, it's instrumental, or it's got those little voices in the background, so there's not a lot going on. In any case, when I work with clients in music therapy, a lot of them don't have the wherewithal to make choices for themselves musically. Sometimes it's because cognitively they are not able to communicate and make decisions about the kinds of music that they like. Other times it's because they're so consumed by their diagnosis, by their illness, by their disability, that they just don't even think of that as an option. They don't even think that there's any way that that damn stuff can help me. And so music therapy enters in to try to assist that person to find another way to enhance their quality of life. So if you wanted to ask me for a definition of music therapy, that quality of life piece is the major piece. Now, quality of life may mean improve somebody's gait, their walking pace, their stride, their velocity, their cadence, whatever it is you're trying to improve with their gait. It might mean improving their communication skills, either their expressive skills, what comes out of their mouth, or their receptive skills, what's going in their ears and they're trying to think about. It could be their social skills. There's lots of ways that we might want to improve someone's quality of life, and each patient that I work with, each client I work with, is different. I can go to the DSM-5 or some other fancy reference book and read all of the criteria for that diagnosis, for that disability or that disease, but it doesn't mean crap until I see the person. Excuse me, those words are coming out. My neurosurgeon tells me that I've lost my filter, to which my students say to me, "You had a filter?" Okay, fine. Anyway, so, but it's really true that when I was interning in Detroit, Michigan, a long time ago, about 40 years ago, I had a music therapy director, my supervisor, who as soon as we would get a person on the unit, he'd run right to the chart room and read all of their social history and all their med history and all of their information about their diagnosis. And then he figured he knew them. And he'd come back and he'd say, "Well, I think they'd be great for guitar group." And I'd said, "Well, did it say anything in there about if they have hands? If they done anything with their fine motor skills?" Because psychiatric patients generally do not get a workup in terms of their motor skills. I said, "So you could just be causing additional frustration and anxiety." And he just always, "So I suppose you want to see him first." And I thought that was something that the supervisor would say to the supervisee, not the other way around. Anyway, we remain very, very good friends, but I've always believed that, I really need to see a person, because we see too many clients in music therapy where we get a profile of that person before we actually see them in the flesh. And I don't think if we matched them, if we had a matching test, that we would have matched that profile with that person. Just because music does something, and I'm going to call it magical. It's not magical. It's neurological, it's physiological, but to the outside world, because all that neurological stuff happens up here and it's kind of invisible, physiological too. I mean, you can't see my heart rate, you can't see my breathing amplitude. It's all kind of mystical and magical. And when people are involved, when they're engaged in a music experience, it's amazing how they tend to exhibit different types of behaviors, different types of emotions, just even a different body posture. So, music therapy. Basically, it's something that can be a unifying, as well as just a unifying instrument for people to be able to get together. It can also be a way for a person to unify themselves, to be able to learn more about themselves and to be more of a whole person. When I work with people who are dealing with a really difficult diagnosis, maybe they've been absolutely healthy their entire life, and they're dealing with a really difficult diagnosis, or maybe it's something that's chronic, a child with a chronic disease or a chronic disability, and working with the parents as well as the child to do some music types of things. And the parents are like, they're never going to be able to do anything musical, they can't do it. And the first time that they do something that shows some musical intuition, it's just such a rush. And you know what, even though I know there's neurologic reasons for it and physiologic reasons, in that moment, it's magic. It truly is magic. So music, regardless of your cultural background or your age, can have such a huge impact on your life. Many of you do that every day. Some of us need to help our clients to be able to do that and to bring that music into their lives and into the lives of their families. I want to talk a little bit about some of the advantages of and some of the reasons for our music therapy. I love this. I always love this definition of music therapy, that it's a universal language. Not sure exactly what that means, except that a lot of the composers that we listen to, we go to concerts and we hear, they never spoke any English or very little. So I suppose in that way, they were expressing themselves musically to us, so it is a universal language. But it's also kind of comical to me because I think people read into that too much. That if you play a song like Twinkle Twinkle, we'll use Twinkle Twinkle, and you play it for a client who is nonverbal, but they seem to like music, this song might work for them. Well, if they grew up in Croatia, Twinkle Twinkle might not be on the top 10 kids' songs. There might be something else, but we can't make those kinds of assumptions all the time when it comes to the universal language. But one of the things that we can look at is that music really does occur quite naturally. Advertisements. We are farmers. Boom, 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 boom. I mean, every one of us can probably at some point recite some either an advertisement or maybe a theme song for a show. There aren't so many good theme songs for TV shows anymore. That's kind of gone out of mode. But many of you in here, I can see just by the nods of the heads, remember some of those really great theme songs to TV shows, and they would get you ready. I mean, there was a purpose for that. There was an absolute purpose for that because it brought back the memories of the show. You got the characters. It's kind of like going to your laptop and clicking on that folder. We're ready. I got it. A couple that come to mind that were with the 70s, 80s, I guess. Cheers and Friends. You click on that, and all of a sudden you've got the cast, the ensemble that was in there, and you can remember all this stuff. You don't think about that before. You don't think about Rachel, you don't think about Ross, but then you start hearing the music for Friends, and boom, it's like it taps on that icon. The computer helps me out once in a while in trying to make those kinds of analogies. Other than that, I'm not very computer savvy. Anyway, we have so many places where we hear music. Restaurants. Just a little challenge to you. As you're moving around over the next few weeks, listen to the music in the various places that you enter, whether it's a retail store or a fast food restaurant or a fancy restaurant. Your fancy restaurants, they kind of want you to hang there and order a drink and then an appetizer and then the main course and then hang on and have some dessert. Fast food, what do you want? Get out of here. Very different kinds of music. Take a listen. You'll be amazed at how we've all been kind of manipulated by that through the years. And even in the stores, in the mall area, you listen to one kind of music, and in the different stores, different types of music to appeal to their target audience. Who's going to buy our stuff? That's what we want to play. Duh. Yeah. And we've all succumbed to that. We've all succumbed to that. And more than we've succumbed to it, we've also, if any of you, and I'm sure many of you have raised kids and have done the mall shopping thing with them, you're walking around going, yeah, none of this really appeals to me. And your kids are pulling stuff off the racks and they got 2 hands full of stuff. And part of it is, of course, it's stuff that's geared toward their age group. The other part is that the music is also supporting the fact that they're there. They're shopping. You're not shopping, they are. So it naturally occurs in so many places, and sometimes we're not aware of just how it manipulates us. Music is socially appropriate. Even at this time of year, walking down the street, people don't look at you real weird. Maybe they do, a little weird, but not so much because it's just something that you do, especially if you're walking along with a kind of a lilt in your step and everything. It's absolutely fine. And it's a leisure skill. It's not just something, we use it as therapy. I use it very systematically as a therapy. But a lot of you have music as a leisure skill, whether it's going to concerts, as a, as a form of leisure activity, playing an instrument, singing in a choir, maybe just singing while you vacuum, whatever you do, you use it very purposefully as a leisure activity. And as a leisure activity, there's a lot of things that meet the criteria for leisure activities. Some of my clients don't have too many leisure activities. We work a lot with my students, do a lot of placements in facilities where they have group homes for people who have had mental illness, group homes for people who have been incarcerated and are trying to make community reentry, and group homes for people who are living with developmental disabilities. And they're now adults. And you know what? Developmental disabilities, even though the definitions end when you reach your 22nd birthday, as does your free and public education, the developmental disability does not go away. So we have older people that are in their 40s who have profound intellectual disabilities, who have autism, who have ADD, who have ADHD. And community services are inconsistent, let's call it that, for these folks. But the idea of helping them, especially as they get older, as their adults, develop new interests and leisure time activities is very, very important. We might think of leisure as kind of an extra thing, but you know what, if you really think of how important it is to your life and how it defines your quality of life, leisure time is not a fluff or a sideline. It's essential to your quality of life. And if it's essential to your quality of life, it's essential to me to bring it to people whose choices are limited and who don't know that music can be something that can bring quality of life to their current situation. Anyway, moving along. Provide a reality and time-ordered structure. This comes back from an old definition from a book called Music in Therapy by Ether Gaston, early 1960 publication. It used to be the Bible of music therapy. It's in one book. Ether Gaston was a doctor, and he was one of the very first music therapy educators at the University of Kansas. It's a great book for foundational information. And he talked about, let me go back. Everybody knows my password. You can all jump up and do this. He said that music as therapy can offer people a way to order things where they're having trouble with that, they're disoriented and they're having trouble just expressing themselves, or they're having trouble with their motor function in terms of ordering things. And it can also offer reality orientation in that you hear words, you see words, and maybe you do a certain amount of, Freud would love this, projecting of what the singer, what the artist is singing about, trying to help you to understand it, and then applying that to your own life. We do a lot of that with people who are having difficult times with decision making, problem solving, or even with things like PTSD. Putting the words to what they might have experienced in a song, or we see it in a song that's out there on the radio somewhere. They hear someone else singing it, and it's kind of like that old Roberta Flack tune, killing me softly with his song. Some of you might remember that. Sometimes we find clients in the middle of singing, "You Are My Sunshine," just tears pouring down their face, because it's reminding them of something, and this helps them to get it out. So the tears are not always a bad thing. I have to remind my students of that all the time. But it's how you handle that and how you allow that person to express themselves that might make a change and make a difference for them. They may not want to hear that Sunshine tune much more, but it does help them to face something that's been difficult for them. And then we can possibly help them move through that. So we can help with that kind of reality-based, reality structure. Sometimes I'll work with patients with dementia, and we'll use songs like at this time of year, I'll use something like Jingle Bells, which is basically a kid's song, but my guess is that you get sucked into it too. Everybody sings Jingle Bells. It's kind of like ageless. But originally, we would see that and we would recognize that as a children's song. And sometimes for some of my dementia clients, this helps to transport them back to that time. And you know, a lot of them have great memories from their childhood that they can share. They don't have a lot of memories of lunch, but they've got great memories. And then you just start moving it up. Then maybe you do something from maybe a Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin kind of era, and then keep moving it up through the decades until you kind of reach a point where you can see in their eyes that they're getting kind of fuzzy. They're not connecting with the music, and you go, okay, that's kind of where the long-term memory has started to get foggy. So now we need to make some new memories. But we can use those songs that they recognized from before to bring them up. It's systematic. It's not magic. Really, it's not magic. We have research to back up, especially working with Alzheimer's patients, especially working with autism, especially working with NICU, and working with neurologic disorders. We have got more and more, right as we're sitting here enjoying cookies and coffee, we have got researchers all over the country giving us more and more support for the use of music therapy working with some of those populations, and with all those that I just mentioned particularly. Enjoyed by most people, childlike. That's kind of my reference to the Jingle Bells thing. This is a great time of year. It's a terrible time of year to be hospitalized or to be in an institution, but for music therapists, I mean, it is the best time of year. People know more Christmas songs. If you could figure out a way to count the songs that they have in their music memory, their lyrics, there's the largest percentage of tunes probably are Christmas things or holiday things, if they celebrate Christmas. If they don't celebrate Christmas, then you have another challenge, and that's what I remind my students of all the time. I live up in the Cleveland area. I grew up in Shaker Heights, large Jewish population, and I learned a lot of Hanukkah songs, and I actually was very involved with the Jewish student organization at Ohio University because I was dating a young man who was Jewish as well. But being aware of the cultural background of the folks with whom you're working is exceptionally important, and especially when there's holiday times coming up. Very important. I'm going to try to move back here. The childlike piece, though, is something that I'm always pushing because I really believe that most of us get in touch with our childlike views and our childlike feelings and emotions, maybe even some that can't even be expressed when we're involved in a music activity. If I had the resources to do so, I would have given each one of you a scarf and some bells. You know, most people, it's just, that's a toy for things. All of a sudden you start singing Jingle Bells. Maybe shake it, maybe shake it with the person next to you. All of a sudden you see all these things happen. Or scarves. I start playing I'm Dreaming of a White Christmas. Here goes me. Here we go. Moving to the music. It's not that it's traditional, it's just that we respond to the music, and we respond more than just to the aural, the hearing sensation of the music. We respond in a physical and an emotional way, and to be able to put those responses together into some kind of an action, we have instruments, we have props. We can tap our foot, we can clap our hands, we can just tap our hand on our leg, we might sway. By sway, I can't say by the microphone though, but it's kind of cool, I guess. Anyway, many ways that we can respond that kind of take us back to childlike, because my guess is most of you don't sway a lot. Just saying. I'm thinking you don't sway a lot, but you know when you hear music, you might sway. Or when you hear a certain piece of music, you might clap to it. Or when you hear a certain piece of music, where was I? I was at a Cleveland Monsters game last week, and they played Sweet Caroline. Sweet Caroline, and everybody goes, bum, bum, bum. Who does that? You ever go boom, boom, boom? No. But when you hear Sweet Caroline, that's just kind of what you're supposed to do. And it's like you can't stop yourself, you know? Boom, boom, boom. Don't want to do it, but I gotta do it. Music brings out those types of childlike responses. And you know, sometimes just that can relax somebody. It can make them feel better. It can make them feel more connected with themselves. So, something to keep in mind. Other reasons that we use music therapy, what does it do? It gives us opportunities for experience and self-organization and self-expression. Talked about that already. These are just kind of the points as I've been, going on and on up here. It also gives us an opportunity to relate to others. That whole idea of if I put the bells out and you were shaking them and then you looked at the person next to you, you established eye contact and you shook the bells at the same time. Now, I know for you, this is no big deal. For some of the folks with whom I work, whether they're a child with autism or a family who has a dying family member in a bed at hospice, this is huge. It's huge. They're sitting there and nobody knows what to say. They know their family member is dying, but we all of a sudden we put bells in everybody's hands, and it's a whole different part of their brain that is now controlling their behavior, and it kind of distracts them from what was going on before, from the thoughts of the here and now, the hospice, the terminal illness, what to say, what to do. That's how we develop music therapy programs a lot with hospice patients, and that's how we work with hospice patients and their families to help them, even at this time, create new memories. Create new memories that the family will have of this person that came after the diagnosis. Wonderful thing. We get an opportunity, and this is where the therapy piece starts to come in. Giving everyone a chance to experience music at their own level. We don't force anybody to play bells. We don't force anybody to sing. We don't force anybody to dance. But it's amazing when you just give them the music, you put the music in the environment, how people develop those responses, or they remember those responses and begin to exhibit them. And everybody is doing this at a different level. I have a client right now, real good example. Love to bring her down here. She could have come with me with her parents. Her parents have attended her music therapy sessions. She's been coming to me for about 8 years, once a week. And her parents come, and part of the reason they come is they do a lot of the music therapy interventions that we do in my office, they do with her at home. They bought the instruments and they go for it. So anyway, right, a few weeks up until Christmas, Christmas song started, we were doing bum, ba 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 bum, bum. You know, the My Girl song. And we do it with these things called boom whackers. They're plastic tubes, they're pitched, and each one has a little letter on it so you know what pitch it is, and they're color-coded as well. C is always red, just for example. So it's basically a pentatonic type of scale. Mom plays the first two, bum, bum. Dad plays bum, bum. Tori, their daughter, plays bum, and then I play the last one, bum. And we have had the most fun doing these types of activities with Tori. She has one arm. She just has her right arm. Her left arm ends at her elbow. She has Vater's syndrome. She has a significant cognitive delay. She does not talk. Really profoundly involved in this illness. Anyway, we tuck the boom whacker under her arm, so we're going to pretend this part of my arm is a boom whacker now. And then she takes the other one, holds it in her hand, and hits it here. So Mom is hitting on my desk, Dad's hitting on his legs, and Tori's hitting here, and then I'm hitting on my leg as well. And we've been doing this. What's interesting with Tori is she has such really strong musical intuitive sense, and I noticed this very early on with her. Even though we get to her, it's ba 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 ba. That's her note. She might not hit it, but she's singing without moving around. She knows the note. She's got the note. We're trying to get her to have purposeful motion with her hands. So that's why we're doing this and not just getting the voice to do it. Now we've moved into ho, 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 who wouldn't go? Mom, Dad, Tori, who wouldn't go? So same thing, but she anticipates exactly when she's supposed to come in. Okay, so I got friends, I got colleagues. I teach in a conservatory. I got friends that say, so you call that music, really? Like we're doing like Beethoven and Barber and Tchaikovsky and whoever else. I could keep going on. I said, yeah, this is music. And I said, this is kind of where it starts. But when you would probably see it was say it was really cute if this was a 6-month-old or a 1-year-old, but this is the way she expresses music. She also can go to a concert and listen to the concert and not get too fidgety, depending upon the kinds of music that we're listening to. She seems to have an avoidance for trumpets. I think trumpets are just too loud for her, which is the same thing with saxophones. I did the saxophone once, and that was a big mistake. Anyway, so, but she has a great musical intuition, and a lot of her musical taste has to do with her familiarity. So we have a student who has worked with Tori, and they want to bring her to their senior recital. I said, can you get me recordings of the songs you're doing? I need recordings. We'll put them on her. She has a little iPod shuffle that she listens to a lot, and we're going to listen to those with her, and maybe wave some scarves, or maybe just tap hands or do something so she experiences those songs, so when she comes into your recital, she's not hearing them for the first time. That involves more of the brain then, because there's a familiarity, and it's more likely to engage. Because before she was only listening, but now she's going to be listening, hearing it, and seeing it in front of her. So that's a whole other part of the brain. That occipital lobe is being energized. Does that make sense? So that sensory, using more than one sensory function. We can experience music in groups and as individuals. We can help people to work together to create kind of a community, which is a shared music experience, one of the most powerful experiences ever. Any of you ever played in an ensemble, sung in a choir, been in a musical performance, like a Hello Dolly or something like that? You know how life-changing that is. You know how life-changing that is. And it does give you different skills that you really do tap into for the rest of your life when you appreciate the benefit of that kind of collaboration. That everyone has their own part, but if everybody doesn't do their own part, then the whole doesn't happen. And the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, to quote the Gestalt kind of approach. Non-musical skills. I have a lot of friends who will talk about music therapy and say, well, yeah, we use music for non-musical goals. That's what music therapy is. Well, that's a really simplified, watered down, okay, 5-cent version of of what we do. I put systematic in there, I put quality of life in there, and all kinds of things. But we do, in many senses, use music to address and to help people develop more non-musical skills, whether they're emotional skills, or they're social skills, or they're motor skills, fine motor, or gross motor. Maybe communication skills, like being able to do a call and response type of song. That's a social skill, which also involves communication. How do we do that? And we can use music to set that up. So we have many, many ways that we can also teach academic skills through music. Some of you might have lived through your children or grandchildren doing the old classic choral tune, 50 Nifty United States, where they sing the United States, all 50 of them in alphabetical order. Yeah, if you've not experienced that, I'm sure you can find several hundred examples of it on YouTube. Feel free. Anyway, and something simple like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But don't ever sing it if you get stopped by the police. If they say to recite your alphabet, just say it. If you sing it, they think you're being a smart aleck. Terrible idea. I just know that, not from personal experience, but friends of mine that have done that. Anyway, I didn't get stopped, so that was a good thing. Anyway, because I probably sing it too. People who have disabilities may have those hidden talent skills that, because everybody's been so wrapped up in that disability and what they can't do, that they haven't explored things that they can do. I had a client at Muscatatuck State Hospital way back when I first started practicing, who was blind and had a profound intellectual disability. At that time, they would have called her blind and profoundly mentally retarded. I just shake when I hear those terms. Anyway, her name was Shelley. She had the voice of an angel. And what's amazing is you could sing a phrase to her, boom, she had it. She really had terrible social skills. If someone came up to her and said hi to her, she'd start screaming. But if you kind of treated life like an opera and sang to her, or at least warned her and told her you were going to talk to her. You started from across the room. Shelley, how are you doing today? It's Lalene. Oh, Lalene, how are you? Good to talk to you today. The way she talked even sounded kind of like a song. It had a little bit of a melody to it. She became she and another client on our unit who had equally good music skills and bit everybody that came near him. I think he forcibly moved everywhere. Because he was blind, he reacted in a very, very agitated way. And I had several scratches on my arms from him from not giving him enough of a preview that I was coming into his space. He was isolated in our unit all the time. They never let him be with the rest of the clients, because the other clients who also were blind would be walking around and moving around, and if they touched him, he'd grab their arm and start biting them. Terrible thing. Anyway, and I lived in the day at Muscatatuck when residents would do that on a regular basis. You know how they took care of it? They pulled their teeth. Yeah, we had several clients on the unit who literally had no top teeth. That was how they dealt with it. Those were way back in kind of the dark ages, 60s, early 70s. In any case, this young man, John, had managed to keep his teeth, and they were really good. I mean, they were the kind of teeth a lot of us would have liked to have had our kids had, so we wouldn't have had to pay for orthodontics. Anyway, both he and Shelley had amazing voices, and they could sing. They had so many songs because they listened to the radio all the time, and they didn't have any visual kind of confusion. It was just the oral. That's all they heard. And they could do the Star Spangled Banner like nobody's business. And they became at the state hospital, where there were about 1,100 residents, something like that, down in Seymour, near Seymour, Indiana, in a little town that the town itself only had about 750 people in it. And it was, I'm trying to think, the actual town, I don't even remember the name of it, but the actual town only had 750 residents. So the main residents were the people at the state hospital. They became the two to sing the Star Spangled Banner wherever you went, because you never had to give them a starting note even. They likely had perfect pitch, but that's kind of difficult to assess when you have someone who has a really profound intellectual disability. They would always start on the same note, and they sang it through pitch perfect. And they were not distracted by anything in their area because they couldn't see it. It was amazing. They were amazing. So all of a sudden, these two people who were on their units were just, I get so angry with them. They do this, they do this, they can't do this, they can't do that. People around, they were wonderful. They were musicians, they were celebrities. And that changed the staff's view of these folks as well, thank goodness. So it gave an opportunity. Music was the thing that unlocked something that was special for Shelley and John, and it does for a lot of people. My steps in here. I kind of talked about this a little bit already, but music is a whole brain experience. There was a book that was written years ago called Drawing on the Right Side of the Brain, and that drawing on the right side of the brain also kind of related to just the arts in general, and basically saying that, yeah, everything happens on the right side. All the music, everything's on the right side. And the left side is all the analytic stuff and the academic stuff, but all the artsy stuff's on the right side. And I said, well then, how does that work for me? Because I'm left-handed, so everything's kind of weirded out backwards anyway. Well, if you looked at it, they were trying to show research then that said more left-handed people were artsy than right-handed people. Because that right side of the brain, I don't even know left and right side of the brain and the left hand, that was more artsy. Well, you know, that's kind of evening out now. Yeah, not so very true, because now we found in brain scans that we can do now that are much more sophisticated, that when you are engaged actively in music, your whole brain is on fire. Your whole brain is on fire. Even if you're sitting listening to a cantata, or if you're actually singing in the cantata, you're still actively involving parts on both sides of your brain. So if we have people who have neurologic disorders, why not go with a therapy that's going to give them maximum opportunity to be active and be engaged and have their life quality enhanced? And the Every Child thing is just that's my little shtick that I use when I talk about music therapy to public schools. You know, you have a city just up north here, and that would be Akron. where they have a full-time music therapist on their staff. I don't know if you're aware of that. Several years ago, I actually did a 4-part series for the music teachers in the Akron Public Schools. And at the end of it, it was each quarter I did a workshop. And at the end of the 4 quarters, the music teachers, we met with the music supervisor, and the music supervisor said, "What do we do next?" And they said, we hire a music therapist is what we do, because we can't do what she does. It sounds great, and we love it, and we believe in it, and we know that it would help our students with special needs, but we're just not capable. We're not we can't do this. We have other stuff we have to do. We have our ensembles, we have to teach clarinet, we have to direct the choirs, we have holiday programs, get on. Well, the summer of that year, I got a call in the middle of the summer saying one of our music teachers here at the Akron Public Schools has reneged on their contract. We want to hire a music therapist. I have the board's approval. Former student of mine, Edie Hardensteiner, applied for that job. She's been there ever since. Fabulous. Now she works in buildings mostly with just kids K through 8 who have severe behavioral issues. So not so much with intellectual problems. I think people have an easier time dealing with someone who has an intellectual disability. Okay, they're 8, but they're functioning like a 4-year-old. But if it's behavioral, it's scary. It's just hard because you have to get into all your behavior management skills, and it's not musical. It's just so much there's so much baggage with that. And Edie is amazing. And she's also my adjunct faculty member at Baldwin Hall. So, and she's a BW grad. She was one of my students, so yeah, it's all good. Goal areas. These are just some of the areas because I want to try to move you into that, thinking about music as music therapy as something that is kind of non-musical, although I don't want anybody to walk out of here thinking that music therapists don't do musical things, because we do musical things, and it's just because of the way that we present them and the way that we reinforce or we encourage behaviors that we often find that non-musical results occur as well as possibly musical results. So, behavioral and psychosocial skills, communication and language skills. I've kind of alluded to most all of these in examples over the past hour. Perceptual and motor skills, being able to, I do a song with Tori again, and with another client I have who's just graduated from high school last year, is cerebral palsy and a very significant cognitive delay as well. We used to do the song because he got a service dog about 4 years ago. And so as we were getting ready for Hero to come into his life, we were singing the song, How Much Is That Doggy in the Window? And we would use this hand bell. I was trying to get him to work with a flat hand because his hand was very much just kind of bent into a fist most of the time. And so using a flat hand and hitting one of those old desk bells. And then we added another desk bell so he'd have one for each hand. How much is that doggy in the window? And that was about as much as he could do because it took him a long time to get that response ready to hit it. He couldn't do it on the beat, but he could do 1 beat per measure. And so he'd have three beats in there to get it, and if he didn't get it on the first beat, he'd get it in there somewhere before the next one happened. And we use these pitched decibels. They're phenomenal. They're fabulous. But it helped his motor skills because I say flat hand, and he didn't know what flat hand was, but he knew he had to have a flat hand to do this, to hit that decibel. So I'd say, excellent flat hand, good job. And he'd be reinforced by my voice as well as by the fact that the bell would ring. Very cool. All right, so that's a good example of perceptual and motor responses. Cognitive and academic skills, we go back to 50 Nifty United States, or any other number of things. And using lyric discussions, using interpreting words of songs, trying to give the singer in the song some advice, which might then also help the people in the group. They might not know that. It just kind of sneaks up on them. It's kind of coercive, I guess. Physiological responses. Research showing changes in heart rate, changes in blood pressure, changes in breathing rate and amplitude. They're decades old. Decades old. That was like the first area that was really involved with research, and that was when measuring those responses was so archaic. Now we're showing changes in brain function during music, another type of physiological response. As well as, we might increase our musical skills.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
If you're not you can't possibly be trained as a musical therapist at this point. But
Sure.
you like to do friendly visiting or volunteering, maybe with the elderly or in a special needs autistic school. Is there some basic tools or a book that you could recommend that would be good for starting point?
It's a lot, the books would be, they'd be more diagnosis specific, but I would say that you could probably,
Having a person that's an esteemed person, a friendly person, a well-known person, delivering music and just being involved with music, really enhances the music experience. I think some people think, well, just put on this radio station and leave them alone. That's crap. But being able to, if you especially working in hospice programs or with the elderly, finding out what kinds of songs they like, and sometimes they're not able to express that to you, so you have to find it out just by maybe playing them. The wonderful thing now, I'll give you a good example. We had a gal at Worcester Hospital a few years ago, and one of my students was working with her, and she was trying to figure out which songs she liked. And she played, I can't think of her name, the gal that did, anyway, it was an older artist, probably in the 1930s somewhere. She was able to call up on her iPad an iTunes version, YouTube version of the song, and this woman all of a sudden started talking,
where do I get one of these? Write it down on this paper. I'm going to tell my daughter I need one of these. I mean, she kind of had an idea of what she wanted to do. But I think a lot of it, two things you want to remember, age appropriate and subject preferred. And then just do it, whatever you're going to do. You're going to clap hands, you're going to march, you're going to dance, you're just going to sing, whatever you want to do. But if it's delivered by a live person who can be interested in and can sell the music,
you're wonderful. That's what you want to be able to do. That is what you want to be able to do. So I think that's my best bet. I don't think I have any good books for you for that, Joe. Because, I mean, you're talking about the age span here. I mean, you're talking about, you could go into a neonatal intensive care unit and just be there for those babies. Well, that music's going to be real different, and what you're doing there is very different from working in a nursing home. So it's very different.
some of the benefits of music therapy, you can certainly read these on your own.
If you're interested in any of this slide stuff, feel free to let Irene know that, and I can send this off to her, and you can get a copy of this PowerPoint. There's nothing copyrighted or anything about it. Just I'd be more than happy to allow you to send it off, and you could use it for your own, just your own personal enhancement. In any case, we can work in groups, we can work with individuals, we work with families, we work in community groups, support groups. I've worked with some parenthood planning classes, worked with women who are pregnant and they're in those kind of, Lamaze classes, just using music as a form of distraction as well as a focus during intense labor. Sometimes really loud percussive music is much better than saying, well, no, just, I know it's really hard, but you have to relax, so we're going to play air on a G string for you. Well, that's not going to work. Play something that matches their emotion, not that is trying to force them into a different emotion. Working with all different kinds of agencies, and I'm just going to, the last minute or so, I just wanted to mention some of that.
In this area, I mentioned earlier, university hospitals, they literally have an international reputation. The Cleveland Clinic has really stepped up over the past decade or so. They have a music therapy manager. They have music therapists in many of their outlying locations as well. And I'm proud to say that a few of our graduates have actually been hired by the clinic as well to be doing work, and that's excellent. The Suma Health here in Akron, just up the way, they have a full-time music therapist, and we've an affiliation agreement to have students go and do their field work at Suma with their critical crisis psychiatric unit, as well as with their general psych unit and their geriatric psychiatric unit. So we're pretty excited to have those options for our students. Also, the Cleveland Music School Settlement, some of you may be familiar with, all the way up in Cleveland, was the very first program of its type, community music school, to open a music therapy program to the community back in the 1960s. It's
1969, Anita Louise Steele received her grant from the Cleveland Foundation and the Coulis Foundation to start that program. And in 1969, I observed her, and that's how I decided, that's what I want to do. So then it was a matter of trying to find out where I could do it. In any case, many programs. Metro Health up in the Cleveland area, neurologic music therapy is their specialty. We have students that are doing internships there right this very moment. I love what I do. I think I have one of the strongest undergraduate programs in the country with the College of Worcester and Baldwin Wallace. And if you have any questions, I hope you'll just go on one of those websites and you'll see my scary picture and be in touch with me. It's been a pleasure, and I wish you all happy holidays and happy music as well. Thank you.